Nearly 5 years ago, Mercedes-AMG introduced the AMG GT. It was a low-slung, rear-wheel drive, two-door coupe or convertible sports car designed to be the halo of AMG's lineup. Now, of course, that model wasn't very practical for a lot of enthusiasts, which is why 2 years ago, AMG introduced a four-door version. Of course, they so cleverly called it the AMG GT four-door. I drove that model 2 years ago in the 63S version. Now, this week, the company is sending me over their new entry-level version into the AMG GT family. This is the 2022 AMG GT43, and with 362 horsepower from its turbocharged electrified inline-six under the hood, it's designed to be the least expensive way to get into the AMG GT family. So if you guys have always wanted this sports car and you don't necessarily want to spend over six figures, how does this new AMG GT43 stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Hey guys, I want to interrupt this video for a special announcement. Now, did you know that 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? The best way to prevent this is to do something about it while you still have the hair left. This is where our sponsor comes in, Keeps, because Keeps is designed to treat and prevent even more hair loss. Now, the best thing about Keeps is that a licensed doctor will review your information online in order to best determine the exact treatment plan that will work right for you. Once they've determined that, they'll actually ship the product discreetly to your home, and it'll be automatically renewed every 3 months, so you don't even have to think about it. Now, prevention is the key, and Keeps treatments can take up to 4 to 6 months for individual results to show, which is why you need to start sooner in order to prevent even more hair loss. Now, I've been using Keeps for the last year and a half, and I have to say I'm really impressed with the overall progress of my hair. It's really come back in a much fuller way, and all I have to do is just take one small pill a day and use a mousse twice a day in my hair, or basically every time that I get out of the shower. Now, if you're ready to take action and prevent even more hair loss, please be sure to visit www.keeps.com/redline, where you can save up to 50% off of your first order. That's keeps.com/redline. And now let's get back to the video. So of course, with any AMG branded vehicle, I want to start with what's going on under the hood, because this is a new model for 2021 that's part of a new entry-level version into the AMG GT four-door family. So of course, unlike the 63S that I tested a couple of years ago, this 43 model has a more mild version of the 3-liter turbocharged electrified straight 6-cylinder engine. This is essentially the same engine that you're going to find in a E450 or a GLS 450, for example. It's basically the company's new straight 6-cylinder engine that's turbocharged, that's electrified, that's direct injection. It's part of the EQ Boost engine family, of course. Instead of belts, it's a completely beltless driven engine because it has an electrified 48-volt mild hybrid system that basically does away with the belts. And unlike the 53 model, which also adds an electric supercharger, an electric compressor, this is missing that. So instead, you get numbers that are pretty much identical to an E450. It makes 362 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. That's, again, a much lower compared to the 429 that you get in the 53 model, but despite the reduced horsepower figures, AMG says this vehicle should still get to 60 in around 4.8 seconds, and you'll probably have a top speed limited around 155 miles an hour. Now, this vehicle does get pretty decent MPG because of the mild hybrid system. It can't ever drive the vehicle on electric power alone, but it kind of just assists the vehicle when it needs the extra boost. As this one sits, it's rated to get 20 in the city, 25 on the highway. Please be sure to put premium gas in it. It all goes out, of course, through the company's 9-speed torque converter automatic. It's their own design transmission, which has been fortified with their AMG speed shift technology, so it has quicker shifts, quicker downshifts and upshifts from the paddles. The curb weight of this vehicle is still relatively heavy, even though it does have less weight on the front. As this one sits, it weighs in at around 4,530 pounds. Now, closing the hood, let's look at the styling of the 43 model, because if you guys didn't see the badge on the back, this is still a very, very impressive looking vehicle. It's very low, it's very wide. It has the look of the two-door version. In fact, a lot of you probably will be surprised to hear me tell you that this is based off of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class, the current E-Class. It's essentially a re-bodied version that has much sleeker styling. Now, let's start, of course, with the front fascia. You have the corporate AMG styling here with the vertical slats from the Panna Americana grille, massive 3-pointed star that houses the radar sensor for the adaptive cruise control. You have standard full LED headlights with the LED daytime running lights It has LED turn signals, LED low and high beams, and then down here in the lower fascia, you can see it's not quite as aggressive as the 63 model, which I kind of like. It's more stealth. You have this piano black plastic trim. The 63 has even larger air openings, and I believe the hood is even more bulgy on the 63 version. But overall, in this silver color, it's not my favorite exterior color, but it still definitely has a nice presence to it. This looks a lot sexier than something like the Audi S7 or even the BMW 8 Series Grand Coupe. It just looks a lot more expensive and a lot more sleek. Now, looking at the side profile, you can see this is a big vehicle. Compared to the E-Class on which it's based, it's around 5 inches longer at 199 inches long. Its wheelbase is around an inch longer at 116 inches long. You can really see the fastback shape at the rear, which gives this car a very swoopy coupe-like look. My tester has an optional 20-inch wheel that are black finished. They're riding on staggered tires. You have 265s at the front and then fatter 285s at the back. If you guys want a bigger wheel, 19s are standard, but you can also get 21-inch wheels, which would upgrade the rear tires to like a 315 wide. So again, big fat wheels, which gives this car an appropriately exotic car looking stance. The badging here, you can see it says Turbo 4MATIC Plus, but I hate the fact that there's a fake vent over there. I believe the V8 models give you genuine vents, and you can see the brake calipers. These are, I wish they were painted red. I believe the 43 models, you can't get them red painted, but they're cross-drilled rotors. And then if you were looking for the carbon ceramic brakes, you can't get that on this model because remember, it's supposed to be at the low end of the totem pole. Now, my tester here has a fixed panoramic glass roof. They actually added that last year. You cannot open that, but it does make the vehicle look like it has a black roof. You can also get a carbon fiber roof on the higher end versions. And you can see here, looking at this angle, this vehicle really gives you the impression that it's a low slung, coupe-like vehicle. And you can even see when I open the doors, for example, it's completely pillarless. So that really gives you the impression of a coupe. And my tester here, we'll talk about the interior later on, looks really good with the red interior color combination with this silver exterior. Now, looking at the rear, you can see the rear taillights very much mimic the AMG GT two-door version. You can see no Mercedes badge aside from the 3-pointed star. It just says AMG and then GT43. The deployable rear spoiler here also comes standard. You can actually push a button on the interior and this will make the spoiler pop out, which makes it look pretty good. And then you can see down here in the exhaust system here, you have the AMG quad exhaust system. Love the burbles and crackles from the exhaust. Definitely has that traditional straight six snarl that people like. Now, opening up the trunk area, you can see that power opening trunk comes standard, which is nice. And this vehicle is actually a hatchback, which makes it even more practical. You get 12.7 cubic feet of space. Unfortunately, those seats do not fold down. If you want the fold down seats, you have to spend $3,500 to get the rear seat executive package, which will fold the seats down. That'll expand the cargo capacity, but this one here, it is pretty deep. It also is really nicely finished. You can see there's even a little bit of storage underneath here, but just remember, you need to spend that $3,500, which my tester does not have, to get folding rear seats. So let's talk about the interior of the AMG GT43. Now, as you can see, my tester here with the red leather color combination kind of offsets the boring silver with this bright red leather, which is definitely my pick, but I would probably go for a white exterior with this red leather. These are essentially the standard AMG performance seats. My tester is missing the upgraded multi-contour seats, which offer a massage feature, but at least it has the option for the ventilated seats, so these are heated and cooled. They adjust in like 16 different ways, and you get 3-person memory on the driver's side, which is nice. But getting inside and looking at the interior, you can see this is the traditional layout that AMG and Mercedes has been using for years. You have two 12-inch displays, 12.3, 12.3. This one here is a touchscreen. What they did add is MBUX for 2021, which now includes all the voice commands. It has CarPlay and Android Auto, which is nice, although it's not wireless. Now, when I shut the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk. It actually has a very heavy sound because it's a frameless door. My tester is missing the soft close rear doors, which would again make this a little bit, more luxurious feeling when you shut the door. You can see the gauge display shows you the front end of the GT4 door. You can see here's the key fob for the vehicle. It's the standard AMG key fob. Has the usual buttons here. No remote start on the actual fob, but I believe you can do that through the infotainment system or through the app. The button to fire up the engine is right here where you'd expect it to be. And because this vehicle is electrified, it doesn't have a traditional starter hiccup noise. So instead it just kind of whirs to life because of that 48-volt mild hybrid system. You can see this is the vehicle in its quiet setting. It's in comfort right now. This has the AMG drive selector. If I put it over here into Sport Plus, you can hear the baffle open in the exhaust. Pretty low rev limiter, but it does have the nice burbles and crackles from the exhaust, which is a nice addition. Now you can see my tester here is with the upgraded full leather interior, has leather stitching on the door panels, metal accents for the Burmester stereo system, metal accents for the door handles, metal accents for the window controls, which again, these are really high quality feeling. They look fantastic, and I love the build quality in this vehicle. These are the seat control adjustments. You can see they're on the door just like every other Mercedes. They also give the ability to turn the heated and ventilated seat on at the same time. Not sure why you'd want to do that. I can also control the seat from the driver's side on the passenger side. You can see the passenger side also includes the same controls with the same 3-person memory, which is also very nice. I also like the way these seats look. They hold you in place very nicely. You can also get a performance seat, which has a Recaro style look, but these are probably the more comfortable option for me. And the rest of this interior, you can see, has beautiful contrasting red stitching on the entire dash, on the lower part of the dash, real genuine aluminum trim here. And I love this AMG performance steering wheel with the controls right here. This is very Porsche with the rotary dial selector on the actual steering wheel. I love the flat bottom design. The steering wheel itself also has a tilt and telescoping feature, although the wheel itself, I believe, is not heated. I wish it did have a heated wheel. That's an option, which the button could have been right here to turn on the heated wheel, knowing that my tester does not have that feature. This gauge display is completely customizable. You can see this is the Super Sport display. You can use this little toggle here to kind of change what you want this to show, but I like the kind of classic look with the tachometer that's right there in the center, or you can kind of just get rid of the tachometer. And this display here, you can see is the traditional MBUX system. There's the Apple CarPlay. That's the way it looks when you want to use the CarPlay. You kind of have to unlock your phone, which is kind of annoying how I already did that. It's still asking me to do that. But what I don't like about the CarPlay is the fact that it doesn't allow me to take up the entire screen. I wish it did that. I don't know why AMG didn't just kind of push it out into the corners. It seems rather silly to only confine it to the center part of the screen. You have the usual air vents here, which are circular. The interior lighting in this vehicle is also massively nice. At night, it really shows off beautiful lighting. You can also change out the ambient lighting. If you go over here to, if you go to comfort right here, you can see this is where you can adjust the seat comfort on the kinetics, or you can also adjust the massage if this vehicle had it. But the ambient lighting is pretty much the standard Mercedes stuff here. You can kind of change out the color. They have different themes. You can have it so it changes the color all the time. And you can see in the vents there's the lighting. It's beautiful at night. This interior definitely feels like a nightclub. It's very Mercedes when they show off the interior lighting in here. Now in here you can see there's the cup holders. There's a pretty nice little door here that'll conceal this, although the piano black plastic on my tester will show a lot of dust and fingerprints, so I suggest changing it out if you don't like that. They did redesign the touchpad over here, of course, when they added MBUX. You have all these controls over here for your drive mode selector. You can individually control the transmission, the suspension, the stability control. There's your volume knob over there, the exhaust. And what I don't like about the GT models is this shifter. Instead of the traditional shifter that they put here, AMG decided they wanted to have an actual knob or an actual toggle or gear lever right here where you'd expect it to be, but it's placed too far back because of the touchpad here. So I kind of have to like move my hand back here to put it into drive. If I put it into reverse, same thing. It does give you a full top-down camera that my tester has, great resolution and graphics. And then the park button is right here. So this is just really awkward. It provides a really great place to rest your hand when you're using the touchpad, but most of the times I find myself just touching the screen because it's a touch screen. So I think the touchpad is almost redundant. Just move it out of the way, put the gear lever right here where it should have been. Opening this up, you can see this is rather shallow, but it does offer a decent amount of storage. Again, I love the build quality and the materials in here. It just all feels really nice and expensive. Above me, you can see there is a panoramic roof. Although it's a fixed roof, it doesn't actually open. I don't know why there's this bar here that cuts into the actual lighting and such. So I wish they got rid of this because this sunroof, remember, does not open. It does have a power retractable shade to kind of shield you from the sun, which is nice. Opening this up, you can see there is a pretty decent amount of space in there. There's also the fragrance for the air balance package, which shows you, or which allows you to waft a perfume into this cabin. So overall, the interior definitely is nice. However, it doesn't feel quite as roomy as an E-Class. Keep that in mind. You sacrifice space for style in this vehicle, but it also gives you the impression that this vehicle feels like a much more exotic car versus just a standard E-Class. So one of the selling factors of getting the 4-door version is being able to use back seats, because remember, the 2-door model doesn't even have back seats. So let's go ahead and get back here and show you guys the space. You can see I really like the way the doors, the way they're designed. They have those frameless glass design, which gives it, again, the impression of a coupe. And obviously the red leather here with the silver looks fantastic when you see it from the outside. It really makes this vehicle look a lot more special. But looking at the interior here, Mercedes-AMG actually didn't post any legroom figures. However, if you look at a CLS class or an E-class, those have roughly 35 to 36 inches of rear legroom. This looks pretty much the same because it has, again, the same size wheelbase. Actually, it's a tad longer. You can see the AMG GT 4-door only comes with 4 seats as a 4-seater, so there's only 2 seats here. You cannot get a middle seat like you can get in some of its competitors. My Tester's missing the $3,500 executive rear seat package, which would give you heated and cooled cup holders, a touchscreen back here, and then a 60-40 split fold down rear seats along with heated and ventilated seats back here. So let's get inside and show you guys the back seat. You definitely have to duck your head. This very much slopes and kind of gets in the way. When I shut the door, you can see it's very much a snug fit in this vehicle. I am noticing that the interior back here definitely feels like it's made for 2 people. The seats have actually very aggressive bolstering back here, so it actually holds you in place very nicely. It has kind of that cockpit feel that a lot of people are going to like. There's a massive tunnel here, of course, because this vehicle is rear drive biased. And you can see there's 2 map pockets back here. You have rear seat air vents, but my Tester is missing heated rear seats. You have this big little area here where you could put some stuff. It's got 2 cup holders and 2 USB charging ports, but no fold down armrests. I believe the executive rear seat package will give you that feature. So for $3,500, I would highly recommend just adding that option to give you a slightly more comfortable back seat. So the last time that I drove the AMG GT 4-door, it was around 2 years ago, and it was the fire-breathing AMG GT 63S, which at the time has the most powerful production version of the company's 4-liter twin-turbo V8, making 630 horsepower. So obviously, now we are driving the AMG GT 43, which essentially has almost half the power. This is the entry-level model now, and it's the cheapest way that you can get into an AMG GT 4-door or an AMG GT. Now, cheapest is relative because this car still starts at $90,000. My Tester is $106,000. And with 362 horsepower, some of you may be concerned, is this actually worthy of an AMG GT badge? Now, of course, Mercedes and AMG have returned to the glorious straight 6. This is the same 3-liter turbocharged, electrified straight 6-cylinder engine. Now, compared to the AMG GT 53, this is missing the electric supercharger, which boosts the power a little bit more. And let's see how this affects the performance. This car, Mercedes-AMG says, should get to 60 in around 4.8 seconds. So let's go ahead and test that out. All right, so I got 0 to 60 in 5.15 seconds on my first run. Not really happy with that time. It seems a tad slow, but we were on an uphill gradient. So we'll rerun that test, but I have to say that this car does feel properly quick. It is slightly quicker than an E450, which is based off of the same platform, although nobody could guess that because this car just looks so freaking sleek. Is it enough power for most people? And for me, probably not. I would probably at least spend an extra 10 grand to go for the 53 model. But for those of you who, really like the fact that this car is now under $100,000, it's certainly a reason why you'd want to choose this vehicle. It also sounds good. My Tester has the sport exhaust. Listen to that. Mix those little burbles and pops. And the straight 6 sound is nice. It's not quite as nice as the BMW straight 6. I will say that. The BMW straight 6 sounds even better than this. But it's definitely a nice addition. Much better than the old V6 that AMG and Mercedes was using in the back then. So this is obviously a nice worthy addition to the lineup. I just think that for this kind of vehicle, you're going to want more power. All right, this run I got 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, and the slope was around 1.5. So it's slightly uphill. I'll go ahead and take that number. That is a perfectly fine time. But you should know that the 53 version is around a half a second quicker to 60. At least that's what AMG says. Oh. And you know, this car is standard with their company's 4MATIC Plus all-wheel drive system. It doesn't have the drift mode like you would get in the 63S version, but you can get the tail to step out ever so slightly. The sound is just really intoxicating. I love this straight 6-cylinder noise. And the cool thing about this car is even though it's so big and heavy, this thing handles well. It handles like a smaller vehicle, even though this thing is around 199 inches long. She's a big girl. Ooh. And this 9-speed torque converter automatic has been AMG-ified with their speed shift technology. It's not the twin clutch or the multi-clutch unit that's in the 63S that I drove, but it gets the job done. Very quick blips when you downshift and pull the paddle. And I love the burbling noises. And when I pull the paddle upshifting, it's quick. It's responsive, it's snappy. This is better than the Cadillac CT4V Blackwing that I just drove in terms of the paddle shift responsiveness. Like this transmission, I love the paddles as well. I mean, if you guys have never driven something that was like a sub 5-second car, this is gonna feel plenty fast. And I love the sound. But I think for this type of vehicle, I might as well spend the extra 10 grand and go for the 53 model, because AMG only offered this model because they're trying to get down to a price point. They want this to be a little bit more competitive because this vehicle is already a lot more expensive than the BMW and Audi equivalent. But as this one is, it's still cheaper than a base Porsche Panamera, which is probably what they were going for. Oh, it just holds on to grip so well. Man, what a car. I really think that the 53 is probably the sweet spot. That electric supercharger is going to give you a little bit more of that boost. I do feel there's a little bit of lag. Like if I leave the vehicle and just regular drive and I just floor it, it does take a second for the turbo to spool up. Whereas if you had the electric supercharger, it would kind of fill in those gaps. It would give you a little bit extra punch, which I think I expect in a vehicle like this. Now, what about the fuel economy? You might be wondering, does this get better gas mileage? No, it's rated at 20-25. In my week's worth of testing, I've been averaging around 18 mpg, so not wonderful gas mileage. Much better than the V8, of course, but listen to this thing pull. But at this point, if you're gonna spend $106,000 for this, you may as well spend an extra $10,000 and get the 53 model. And for those of you who really have deep pockets, the V8 is still my absolute favorite. It's the best kind of internal combustion engine you can buy before AMG decides to go fully electric on this car. But this vehicle is still sexy looking, still has a wonderful interior, still has great amount of tech, lots of room inside. It's still a very appealing car. You have to be ready to pay a pretty penny for something like this. So after spending a week with the entry-level version, the 43 model, as much as I want to basically dog this car for being a rebodied E-Class with the same engine as an E450, I have to say AMG has given this car a lot of tweaks to make it feel like a completely different car versus a standard E-Class. Obviously the look is a lot sleeker, a lot sexier. I love the interior of this car, I love the handling, I love the power, even though I would probably just go for the 53 model if I was going to be spending this kind of money. As you can see here, the rear is probably the best angle of the vehicle, especially when the spoiler is popped out. It really comes down to your personal preference, because in this segment, you could obviously look at the Porsche Panamera, you can look at the Audi A7 or S7, you can look at the BMW 8 Series Grand Coupe. This model here definitely has the most exotic car looks for me. I mean, the Porsche Panamera comes very close. It has a very similar shape to this vehicle. But what AMG has done here is they've given us a new entry-level model that's going to be a little bit more affordable, but it's still more expensive versus its Audi and BMW competitors, because the AMG GT43 starts at just under $90,000, like $89,950. Add $1,000 for destination and you're looking at just under $91,000. My tester here, of course, with the upgraded red leather on the interior, those upgraded wheels, the upgraded infotainment system, the upgraded Burmester stereo. You're looking at an as-tested price of just over $106,000 for this example here. And at that point, I might as well spend an extra $10,000 and get the 53. So that's basically where I'm at here as an enthusiast. I like the 43. I like the fact that it's still relatively quick, 4.9 seconds 0 to 60, but really for an extra $10,000, I don't think that they reduced the price enough of this model to warrant not getting the 53 version, which gives you nearly 70 more horsepower and on a half a second improvement 0 to 60, and also kind of gives you a little bit more push when you put the pedal down, because this car here, while it is quick, it can feel a little bit sluggish at times. It reminds you that it's a 4,500 pound vehicle, but again, it also reminds you why you should just go ahead and spend the extra money and get the higher end versions of this vehicle with more power underneath the hood. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2022 AMG GT 43. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.